Sue, and you're listening to Shutterbug Club. This is my brand new podcast, and yeah, I'm your host, Sue Dukemanier. My last name's actually Dukemanier, but Shutterbug is my business name, so I thought it would be a cute name for a podcast. In this first episode, I'm just going to introduce myself, tell you my photography journey, some fun things about me, and then answer some questions from an Instagram story that I posted. So let's start with why I wanted to start this podcast. I have wanted to start a podcast for over a year, and the biggest reason is to build community, and I just want to connect with other like-minded people who have a love for photography. Oh, I guess I should probably say first that this is going to be a photography podcast, and I'm going to talk a lot about photography, business, and mindset because those are all things I'm super passionate about. So I started this podcast because I just want to connect with people who have this passion to create something, people who want to learn and want to grow. But there is also another reason I started this podcast that I'll share with you, and it's that I started it as a personal goal for myself to improve in speaking because this is actually a hard thing for me, and I won't lie, I have recorded my first episode probably 5 times, and I've struggled with it. For some people, speaking comes really easily for them, but it doesn't for me, so this is me facing my fears and stepping outside my comfort zone and just trying to do something to better myself while also hoping to find a community. Okay, so I'll share some things about me first. I live in Colorado, and I am a full-time photographer. I am 24 years old. I am married to Zachary. He paints houses for a living, which is probably why I wanted to own my own business, is because I'm surrounded by so many entrepreneurs because my husband has his own painting business, my dad has a construction business, my sister has a dog grooming business. Pretty much everyone I'm surrounded by is entrepreneurs, and I love the lifestyle that can bring. And so, yeah, I have my own photography business, and I love all things photography. I have a dog and 2 cats. What else about me? I think that's all for now. I'll answer some more questions towards the end. So before I share with you my photography journey, I'm going to share 3 things that I wrote down, and these are things I wish I would have known earlier in starting my photography. Okay, the first one is do not compare yourself to others. And even I find myself struggling with this sometimes. Social media makes it very difficult when you scroll on Instagram if you follow a lot of other people in your industry. And it can be really difficult to not compare yourself to others, but you have to be really mindful and only compare yourself to yourself. Yeah. Okay, and then my next one is if something doesn't go how you wanted it to go, there's a reason for that, and you are exactly where you need to be. So I've learned lately that you can learn a lot from your failures, and when things aren't going the way you want them to, just be patient and everything will fall into place, and it will usually end up being better than it would have been if you had your way in the first place. Yeah, so that's a big one. And then my last thing that I wish I knew is that not everything you create will be amazing. So as a photographer, I am a creator, I'm a content creator, and it can be really difficult when you're not happy with the work you're putting out. But one thing that has really helped me is the 70-20-10 rule. And I always remember this when I'm feeling a little bit disappointed in my work. And so what the 70-20-10 rule means is that 70% of the content you create will be mediocre. It won't be that great. 20% will suck. You will create things that suck. But 10% will be amazing. So this basically just means the more things you put out, the more you create, the more amazing things you will create. So yeah, I hope that helps you in some way, and those are my 3 things I wish I would have known earlier. Okay, now I'm going to share with you my photography journey. So, I started, I guess my love for photography started back in high school. I have always been a very artistic person. I've always loved to paint. Painting has been my favorite medium of art, but I just seen photography as another another medium, another way to express myself. So, I took a photography class in high school, and I actually didn't learn much about photography, about like how to work a camera. I never learned how to use it on manual instead of automatic. And this is just because I didn't see a reason to. I never wanted to be a photographer. That wasn't the plan I had for myself. So I just took photography and I just wanted to get out there and take pictures. I didn't actually care about learning how to use the camera. So I had to learn that on my own after I graduated. But one thing I really remember from my high school photography class is that we did film, and I had so much fun taking photos on a film camera and then going into the darkroom and developing them, getting to see them appear right in front of your eyes. That was a crazy experience, and I didn't really know how film even worked before that, I guess. I thought film was literally just like any other photography. So that was cool to learn. We also made a camera out of a shoebox, which I didn't even know you could do that. And that was really cool. We basically just taped off the shoebox so no light could get in and then poked a teeny tiny hole in the shoebox and then put some light sensitive paper in it. And then you would uncover the hole for like a minute. And then, yeah, you would take that paper out in the dark room and develop it. So I had a lot of fun with that. But even in high school, I didn't want to be a photographer. I actually wanted to be a marine biologist. My plan in high school was to move to California and go to school by the beach, living by the ocean, and become a marine biologist. Okay, sorry if I'm talking really fast. I'm a little bit nervous. And I know this episode might be a little rough because it's my first episode ever, but thank you for being here and listening. And I'm excited to go on this journey with you. Okay, so also, during my senior year of high school and towards when I was getting ready to graduate, I became a little more interested in photography, and there was a photographer in my area who would take pictures of younger girls around my age, and I always thought his pictures were so cool and so pretty. So I reached out to him and asked him like just some questions about photography, and he said that I could intern with him as a photographer. So I thought that was really cool and I decided to do it. But the thing that's kind of weird, that wasn't weird to me at the time, but I'm realizing now is a little weird, is he told me I could only intern with him if I also modeled for him. So I did a little bit of modeling and photography, but the thing is, he didn't really teach me any photography. He let me borrow a camera because at the time I didn't have my own camera. And I could not figure out this camera because I still had not learned how to use a camera. So I eventually just gave it back to him because he never taught me anything with it, anyways. And when I gave it back to him, he actually said I broke it and was asking me for money for it, which I thought was really weird because I had never even used it. So I just kind of ignored that because I got some weird vibes from him. And don't get me wrong, I would have paid for the camera if I thought I broke it. I wouldn't just take someone's equipment and then give it back to them if broken, but I did really, truly do not think I broke it. Okay, so 2019, I graduate high school and I'm getting ready for college, getting ready to move to California, all this stuff. And I actually developed some health problems. And so I decided to take a year off before going to college because these were problems I needed to take care of at home with around my family. So, in this year off from college, I struggled a lot mentally. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life because I didn't really see a future for myself at the time. I was super depressed. And I decided to buy a camera to fill my time and have something fun to do. And little did I know that this decision to buy a camera would actually change my life. So I bought my camera and I would just go on walks with it and ask my friends to come and model for me and take pictures of them. And then I came across a TikTok video, and this is around like the end of 2019, 2020. Yeah, 2020. when TikTok was really blowing up. A lot of people were blowing up on TikTok, and there was this one photographer I seen. His name is Alex Stimpluski, I think, but his social media name was Alexander the Great. And he blew up on TikTok for taking pictures of strangers. And I'm talking like millions of followers on TikTok. And so I was super inspired by his video, so I stalked his page a little bit, and I seen that he offered a mentorship program for photographers, and he was accepting like 4 people that he was going to mentor. And so I applied for this because I was super inspired, but I didn't really think anything of it because he was blowing up. And so I was like, whatever, I'll just apply. And I got an email saying I got into his program, which at that point I never expected to get in. So I was like, wait, is this something I want to do? Because it was an investment. It was a lot of money, and I didn't even know if I wanted to do photography at that time. It was just something fun that I filled my time with. So I basically took all the money I had in my savings and I signed up for this mentor program with Alex. I'm so glad I made that decision to join his mentor program because having somebody there to teach you and answer all of your questions, especially one-on-one like that, is so powerful. And I feel like it helped me grow in skills and in my business so much faster than I would have if I didn't do that program. Now, it was an online thing. It was an 8-week program where we had a video call once a week, and he taught me everything from editing to how to run it on social media, posting on social media, because that's something he was really good at, and then even getting clients. And I basically had someone I could go to anytime I had a question. And Alex pushed me a lot out of my comfort zone because I was actually always super shy when I was younger, especially back in high school. I was always afraid to speak up or put myself out there. And so Alex told me I need to be on social media with my business. And that terrified me. But he helped me through all the process. He helped me make my photography Instagram account. And he actually is the person who chose my name, Shutterbug. He told me to come up with a bunch of names that I thought were fun or different that would stand out. And so I gave him some, and he liked Shutterbug the best, so I kept with it. And that's actually a common question for a lot of people starting their business, especially photographers. If you're wondering if you should go with your personal name, like if I would have just went with Sue, which my name at the time was McDonald, so my photography name would have been Sue McDonald Photography, or if you should pick some kind of different name like Shutterbug. And I truly believe there's no right or wrong answer to this because I contemplated that for so long. I was like, do I want my name to be my business name? And I think it's truly a personal thing because I don't think your business name is going to affect the success of your business. And I'm so glad that I chose a fun name because I like it. And now I get to make this podcast with a fun name that goes along with my business name. Okay, that was a little tangent. Where even was I? I don't know. But oh yeah, talking about social media. And so he taught me how to make TikToks and how to make them interesting and create a hook that brings people in and what makes them want to watch your video. And I'm so glad I learned that early on because that has been so powerful in running my business. And I basically get all of my clients from social media now. Social media and word of mouth are my 2 biggest channels that I get clients through. And I would have never started posting my photography business stuff on social media if it were not from Alex because of how terrified I was. And I thought TikTok was cringy. I was like, people who post on TikTok are cringy. But I'm so glad I did it. I became cringy to myself, but you just have to do it and you have to fake it till you make it. I also have a little bit of a background in marketing, so I actually love the marketing side of social media and trying to figure out what is going to make somebody like a video. So, social media is not for everyone, too. So, if you don't want to run your business on social media, you can definitely find ways to still make that happen. But it's just a free resource that is there for you. So, if you're not using it, then I think you should definitely try it out. Okay, moving on. Let's go to how I got my first client. So, when you first start photography, you kind of have to take pictures for free and just start building your experience and your portfolio and show people what you have to offer. So, I started taking a ton of free photo shoots before I ever got a client. And I would just pretty much look on Pinterest and Instagram and find some really cool ideas that I wanted to recreate. And then I would reach out to my friends, or sometimes I would even reach out to strangers on Instagram. And this is something Alex taught me to do. Also, he told me to go on Instagram and look up your location wherever you're based and look for some of the top posts and reach out to those people. And so I did that and I just basically said, "Hey, I'm Sue. I'm a photographer. I would love to take your picture if you're interested." Something like that. And usually people loved that idea, but I did have a hard time finding some people to take pictures of. And let me just share with you a story about a photographer, actually, the photographer who I interned with in the beginning. And this is a story about some photographers who are more competitive over competition. Wait, they value competition over community. That's what I'm trying to say. And this is an example of that. And this is the reason why I try and create such a community with my photography. And I truly want to lift up other photographers, especially if they're just starting out in the community, because I remember how difficult that was and how you would look around and compare yourself to everyone and think that there wasn't a space for you in the industry. But let me tell you, there is a space for you. So, funny enough, I reached out to this photographer who said he would teach me some stuff but never did. I asked him if I could take pictures of some of his models, and I didn't think that was a big deal because he even offered to teach me in the past, even though he never did. And he was super mad, and I get it, like, those are your models, but he basically told me I can't use his models because I have to find my own people and I have to do it on my own, and just basically that he wouldn't help me in any way. So I was like, whatever. And I eventually just kept reaching out to people, and you will find people because who doesn't want a free photo shoot? I feel like that's such a cool thing. And there are people out there you can find and offer that to. So I just kept posting every single photo shoot I did on Instagram. And eventually, people were reaching out to me and asking me to take their pictures. And I feel like that's when you can start paying. You're like, okay, you want what I have to offer. Here's what I would like in return. And it's actually funny because I had no idea how to price myself when I first started. And so I was asking Alex about this, and he asked me what I would be happy with, what I would be happy to make from my first photo shoot. And I said I would be happy if someone paid me $50. And I was too afraid to ask for $50. So I told this person that I wanted $45 and they booked it. Like, no problem. Thinking back on it, it's so funny because I do not charge $45 for a photo shoot anymore. But that just reminds me of that fear that I had even back then, where you're so afraid to ask for what you want, even though you have something to offer. So I just want to tell you that I know pricing yourself can be difficult, and if you struggle telling people your prices or what you feel like you deserve or even honestly need, if photography is your full-time job, I know that it can be difficult and you're not alone. But anyways, I just kept doing that and I kept posting, and eventually word of mouth caught up and I started to book a lot of photo shoots. And that's when I thought to myself, maybe this is what I want to do. And I kind of got rid of the idea of going to California because I loved being around my family. And so I decided to go to a college closer to home. And I was pursuing photography, and I went to college to get a entrepreneur and small business bachelor degree. I actually wanted to learn photography in college, but my college that I went to didn't even offer any photography classes, and I'm so glad that I decided to go with business instead of photography because that was so much more helpful because I learned photography through YouTube and through practice, and it was free. And I feel like you can definitely do that and become a photographer. And you don't even need to go to school to become a photographer, but learning that business side in school and being able to apply that stuff directly to my photography was so helpful. Like, I took a class that was website building, and a lot of people were making like made up websites for this service that was made up, but I was able to put that into making a website for my own photography. So that was really helpful, and I actually just graduated in May with my bachelor's degree and then a digital marketing certificate. Okay, what's next? Okay, I hate to keep bringing up this photographer, but it was really traumatizing to me when I first started photography. But after my coaching program was over with Alex, I posted on my story thanking him for all he had taught me and done for me. And after I posted that story, that photographer who got really mad at me and said I broke his camera DM'd me on Instagram, and he was so angry, and he said some really awful things, like paragraphs saying how, and I think he was angry because from Alex teaching me about social media and running my business, my photography grew pretty fast. I gained, I think, I want to say 800 followers within the first 2 months of just consistently posting and getting out there. And so after I posted my story thanking Alex for all he did to teach me, this photographer reached out to me and said, "Oh, okay, so you didn't do it on your own. You had a mentor. It doesn't count." Like, basically saying I don't deserve what I had got because I had help getting there. That just blows my mind thinking about that kind of mindset. And I hope that other photographers out there don't experience this kind of competitiveness from other photographers in the industry, because I know how much you look up to those people who are living the life that you want to live and doing what you want to live. So, yes, I am all about community here, if you can't tell. Okay, so in 2022, I decided to start taking self-portraits, and I started this series I called it Taking Self-Portraits Once a Month to Build Self-Confidence. And it got a lot of really positive feedback on social media. A lot of people resonated with feeling self-conscious and struggling taking self-portraits. So I created this whole community around that, which was really awesome. And I had a few of those videos start blowing up, hitting like 1 million views. But I had this one in particular, and it was a glitter self-portrait. And that one I think now is at like 10 million, and I have another one that's at 13 million that is also a glitter self-portrait. And it was really funny because I was in college when I took those, and I went to school the next day, and I had people coming up to me saying, "Oh, I seen you on my For You page." And that was just crazy to me because when you post stuff on social media like that, a lot of the time you don't think about the amount of people who actually see that. So that was my first kind of experience like that, and it was super weird. But anyways, after those videos started to blow up a little bit, I got an email, and I was shocked to receive this email, but it was an email from Adobe, and they wanted to partner with me on my next self-portrait. So I made an ad for Adobe talking about taking my self-portrait and then editing it on their Photoshop Express app. And I still can't believe that I have made an ad for Adobe, so that was crazy for me. Now I want to talk a little bit about my senior model team because that's something I started recently, and I've had so much fun with it. I love it. And I actually didn't even know what a senior model team was until I heard on a podcast Preston Luke was explaining his senior model team, and I knew immediately that was what I wanted to do. So I started my first team last year, and if you don't know what this is, it's basically just a group of high school seniors who you work with, and you do group photo shoots with them, and they get benefits. And in exchange for doing this, they are basically representing your brand by posting the pictures on social media and just talking about you as a photographer. So I work with my girls throughout their senior year. I give them multiple photo shoots, and I'll do a whole episode talking about my senior model team because I've had a lot of fun creating it, and we make just silly TikToks together and do group photo shoots, and it's so much fun. So I'll make a different video talking about that, but that was a big change that I've had in my business, was wanting to focus more on seniors and I'm stepping away more from weddings and families because I really just love more of the fashion, single person portrait creative side. So that's what I've been focusing more on. Okay, now we're jumping to April of 2024, and this is when I went to a content day or content week, I guess it was more like a weekend, that made a huge impact in my life and my photography journey. So this content retreat is called Photo Camp, and it's hosted by my friend Alex Blake Photography. And it's funny because I say she's my friend. She is now, but we had been social media friends just on Instagram for a long time. And I seen that she was hosting her own content retreat, and it looked so amazing. She had some amazing speakers lined up because it was going to be educational too. And so she had like Cassidy Lynn, Preston Luke, herself, and Bo Simmons. And so these were all people I really wanted to learn from, but I also just wanted to go and meet Alex. And she is all the way in South Carolina, so that was quite far for me, and I had never been there. But I decided to go to photo camp, and I had so much fun. I met some amazing people, and yeah, so that was an incredible experience. But the thing I didn't expect is when I got home from photo camp, I got a text from Alex, and she asked me to come back and be a speaker at her next photo camp. Now, that text blew my mind because I didn't see myself as somebody people would really want to learn from. And the other speakers she has are amazing. And I couldn't believe she wanted me to go up there and speak with these people because these are other people in the industry who I looked up to. And so I was really nervous, but of course I said yes. And luckily I had like 8 months to prepare my speech. But I just got back. That was in October, actually, 2 months ago, that I just got back from speaking in South Carolina at her last photo camp. And I spoke about building confidence through self portraits. And yeah, I just wanted to share that with you because that's a huge accomplishment in my photography journey. And I fell in love with it. I love educating and just the photography community. And that's something I definitely want to pursue more in the future. That's also why I'm starting this podcast, is to just get more into educating, because I remember how difficult it was when I started, and when I think about that I have nothing to share with other people, that is not true, because if I could see myself when I just started, I would have so many questions. I would want to ask myself how I got there, how I did that. So, I do believe I have things that I want to share with people and lift other people up as well. Okay, so jumping back to sorry, I keep saying okay. I hope my voice isn't being too annoying, but we're jumping to November, which was last month. I got another email that shocked me. Can you guess who it's from? I just posted about it, so some of you might know, but anyways, the email was from Sony. Okay, so I just partnered with Sony. That's crazy to think about. But Sony sent me the A7R5 camera body with the 85mm G Master lens too. And sadly, I did not get to keep this camera and camera lens, but that's okay because they just sent it to me to take some videos or to create a video, just like an educational video of me using the camera and talking about it. So basically, an ad. I just made an ad for Sony about this camera and lens, and it was so fun to use it in the time that they let me keep it. And that is another huge accomplishment for me. I have now worked with two huge brands, Adobe and Sony, and I've worked with other smaller brands, which they find me on TikTok. So that's just another reason to get on social media and start posting, because people see those things and they might want to work with you too. Okay, and that was last month. So now we're basically at today, and I'm starting this podcast, and it's December. I'm about to sit down and think about my goals that I have for next month, not next month, next year because it's almost 2025. So I'll probably be making an episode sharing goals and goal setting with you. But now I just want to do a little bit of a personal Q&A, questions about me so that you can get to know me a little bit better, and then I'm going to answer some questions photography related from Instagram. Okay, first question. What's something not many people know about you? This is so funny. I feel like this is my favorite thing to tell people because to me it's just really random and rare, but I have been stung by a stingray. I love telling people that. I don't know why, but I got stung by a stingray on my foot. I actually stepped on it when I was in the ocean, right? And I felt it wiggle out from under my foot, like in the sand. And so I put my feet up right away in the water. And then when I put my feet back down, I felt a really sharp pain in my foot and I had no idea what it was. I just like ran to the beach and it hurt so bad. Like I started getting hives all over my body and I could not move. And we told the lifeguards on the beach about it and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's whatever, people get stung here all the time." And they basically just told me to put my foot in some hot water. It was like immediate relief once I got my foot in some hot water, but that pain was crazy and I could not walk for 2 months after getting stung, and that was right on the first day of our family vacation. I was a sophomore in high school, and we were spending a week in California, so that's where this happened. I think it was Sunset Beach in California, and it was the first day of vacation, so my dad had a ton of stuff planned for us, and I could not do most of it. I actually even got a wheelchair and just got pushed around part of the time. So, yeah, that's something not a lot of people know about me, but I love sharing that fact. Okay, I'm just gonna name some favorites. Favorite book, which I've actually been getting into reading lately. I have never seen myself as a reader, but I love books lately, and my all-time favorite book is Harry Potter. I could read those a million times. Favorite movie, also Harry Potter. I think Harry Potter is just so beautifully done, and the filming of Harry Potter, I love to analyze films kind of as a photographer, just look at their transitions and video angles and all of that. And I just think Harry Potter is so beautifully done, the storytelling and the visuals. So, yeah, I'm a Harry Potter nerd. My favorite movie out of all of them is probably the sixth movie. I don't know why, it just is. Okay, favorite artist, musician artist. I'm not huge into music. I do love music and I want to get more into music, but lately my top artist on Spotify, like I just got my Spotify Wrapped, and so my top artist for the last 2 years has been Noah Kahan, which I actually just realized I've been saying his name wrong for years. I used to call him Noah Kahan, which I thought was how you say it, but someone just told me it's Khan. So, anyways, I really like his music, and it's funny because he posted a little video to all his people who were his top listeners, and it was basically like, if you're an emotionally sound person listening to my music, then why? Which is funny. I think I am emotionally sound, but I just love the moody, emotional. He just pours so much emotion into his music. So, anyways, I also like Gracie Abrams right now. She's like doing amazing. Okay, favorite food. This is probably a really lame answer, but honestly, I have to say sandwiches. I probably eat a sandwich every single day and I never get sick of them because you can mix them up so much. I love breakfast sandwiches, lunch sandwiches. You can put different things in it. I actually just recently, my husband is a really good cook, random fact about him. He's just so good at mixing flavors, and I am not. I'm a terrible cook, but he made this sandwich the other day, and I thought it was gonna be so disgusting. I actually asked him if he was pregnant, and he got mad at that. But what he did is he put mayonnaise on one piece of bread and jelly on the other piece. Okay, right? I was like, that's disgusting. And then meat and cheese in the middle. But let me tell you, I tried it. This is now my new favorite sandwich. But the thing is, the jelly is a apricot orange jelly, and it's more savory than sweet. Okay, so it's not a very sweet jelly, and it just goes so well with the meat. Okay, moving on. What else did I want to talk about? Oh, okay. I guess that's all about me. We're going to move on and go into some of the questions I got. I posted a story question box on my Instagram, and this was before I had announced that I was launching a podcast. So the people who submitted these questions did not know that they would be answered on my podcast. Okay. First question. What camera lens do you recommend? It could be a complicated question. I could get really into it. But if you are a portrait photographer, I honestly would recommend the 35 millimeter with an aperture around f 1.4 or 2.8. The lenses with the lower apertures like that are going to be a little bit more expensive, but they're so worth it. And 35 is just a really versatile camera lens. Like, I also love the 85, which is what Sony sent me. I love that focal length, but the thing about it is I shoot in a studio and I don't have a ton of space in my studio. And so a lens with that long of a focal length just doesn't work in my small studio. So the 35 is great for just having variety, especially if it's your first camera lens. Okay, this next question says, I've been doing photography for 3 years, but I struggle getting clients. I feel for you, and I know the struggle of trying to find clients, but here is my tip for you. So you've been doing it for 3 years, so you've probably gotten some clients in those 3 years. I want you to think about where you're getting most of your clients from. Are they coming from social media? Are you posting your pictures and they're reaching out to you there? Or is it word of mouth? Do they know somebody that you took pictures with and that's how they're finding you? So I want you to figure out where they're coming from and figure out what is working and put your energy into that, into marketing there. So if they're coming from social media, then create more reels and more posts and more exciting things to get people to reach out to you. If they're coming from word of mouth, then what you can do is make your sessions amazing. Do something during your session that makes people talk, makes people say, oh, I did this photo shoot with this photographer and this is what my session was like. Another thing with word of mouth is you can create like referral programs or referral bonuses. Like, tell a client you've worked with if they loved working with you to refer someone and you'll give them a discount or something like that. So that would be my tip for getting clients. Another thing to consider is, are you getting inquiries, but you're just getting ghosted? So maybe you're having people who reach out to you, but they're not fully going through with booking you. And if this is a problem for you, then I want you to consider your client journey, your client flow, and figure out maybe it's your prices or maybe it's the package that you're offering, the value you're bringing them. Because if they're reaching out to you and then you send them your prices and they're ghosting you, then it could be that you're not offering them what they want. You're not giving them enough value. Okay, I hope that answered your question. Next is a camera recommendation for wedding photography. So I'm probably not the best person to ask about this because I would not consider myself a wedding photographer. I have shot weddings. I usually take around 5 to 10 weddings a year, but that's not my specific niche. Now, one thing I would tell you is that camera bodies don't matter as much as camera lenses. So I would recommend investing in a good camera lens before you think about upgrading your camera body. Unless you're not shooting on mirrorless. If you're shooting on a DSLR instead of a mirrorless, I do recommend upgrading to a mirrorless as soon as you can because they're just on a different level. But a camera lens for weddings, I would recommend a zoom lens like a 26 to 70. I don't know if that's right, but something that can zoom because it makes it easier to get all the shots and variety that you need for a wedding. I shoot my weddings on a 35 and honestly have no problem with it, but if weddings were something I shot more, I would invest in a lens like that. Okay. How have you learned your editing style? This is something that is really difficult for me. I feel like I'm changing my editing style all the time and still trying to figure out my editing style. But something that's really helped me is buying presets from other photographers who I love their editing style, because this has helped me to look at their presets and see, okay, they changed this setting to get that, and then I can kind of combine it and make my own style. So I would recommend finding some photographers you like their style and seeing if they sell presets. Sorry if you can hear my dog barking outside. My last question from Instagram is going to be, what is the key to trending photography reels? Now, by trending, I think you mean like going viral or getting a successful reel. And my tip for you is going to be, your reel there has to be a reason behind it, right? You have to provide some kind of value in your video. There has to be a payoff for the person watching your video. You don't want them to watch your video and be like, okay, I just wasted 15 seconds of my life or whatever. You have to give them a reason to stay. And you do this by providing value, either something entertaining, educational, or inspirational. And my second tip, which is just as important as providing value, is your hook. This is where you tell them what value they're going to be receiving. So maybe it's 5 tips to do this. That could be a hook. But yeah, so hook your audience by telling them what value they're going to be getting, and then actually provide value, give them that payoff. And yeah, so if you're beginning photography, I recommend you hop on Reels and TikToks, because I have gotten so many opportunities. Honestly, especially through TikTok. I love TikTok more than Instagram Reels. I will say that. And I've gotten so many opportunities and even clients. I have had people who have drove 8 hours to do a photo shoot with me because they found me on TikTok. Well, that's all I have for you today. My last thing that I want to ask you is, if you are watching this podcast or listening to this podcast, because I forgot to mention this is actually a video podcast, so you can watch in YouTube or wherever you can watch video podcasts. But if you're watching this in a place you can comment, please comment and share something about yourself with me. Tell me a fun fact about you, or something about your photography journey, something you're struggling with, because I want this to be a community and I want to hear from you. And another option, you could also just DM me on Instagram. Tell me if you liked this podcast or some other topics you want me to talk about, because I really want to hear from all of you. So yeah, that's all for my first episode. I did it. Okay, it feels so good. Here's to living our dreams, and I will see you in the next episode.